Hello, my name is Evan Darty, and welcome to my presentation on my internship that I completed at Loyola University. So just a couple of things about myself. I am a physical education teacher at Catonsville High School. I just finished up my 5th year of teaching. I did teach at the middle school level over in Dundalk at General John Stricker Middle School for the past 4 years. So this past year was my first year at Catonsville High School, which is where I completed my internship for Loyola. I got my undergraduate degree from Towson University, which is a Bachelor's of Science in Physical Education and Health Education. And right now I am currently working on my graduate degree. Hopefully after this presentation is submitted, I will be done and I will have my master's degree in educational technology from Loyola University. So going into my internship, the beginning stages were a little bit confusing to me because, like I said, I was entering a new school, leaving a school behind that I was very comfortable with. I knew all the staff very well. I knew the principal very well. So coming into Catonsville High School, um, the first thing I really wanted to do was meet with my principal and figure out what some of our school goals were going forward for the 2017-2018 school year. Hopefully by hearing about some of those goals, I could start formulating a plan of what I wanted to do for my internship at my new school. So when I sat down with my principal, a couple things that he really harped on were improving our student attendance scores. That was one of our major goals. Another one was improving our park testing scores. And then the last one that him and I talked about was preparing for next year's device rollout. And that has to do with a lot of different things. And that's the one that I initially felt much more comfortable attacking or choosing for my internship, just because of the other ones I wasn't quite as familiar with or didn't know how I would relate my educational technology degree to those two other things as well. So I really kind of took the idea of preparing for next year's device rollout and ran with it. My principal was extremely nice, friendly when I first met him. He was extremely helpful throughout my internship as well. He put me in contact right away with my school stat teacher. Her name is Joellen Odell, and she was also amazing from the start. We sat down probably a couple weeks after I met with my principal, and we talked about the idea of preparing for next year's device rollout and what are some things that I can do and that we both kind of could do going forward. And some of those things that we talked about, one of the biggest ones was providing training on tech tools, especially since our entire school was going to be uh, one-to-one next school year, the 2018-2019 school year. So every student and every teacher was going to have their own device. Catonsville is a bit of an older school, so we knew that a lot of our staff would need training on some tools, specifically tech tools, that they could integrate into their lessons on a daily basis. Another thing was that kind of went along with this was really utilizing the Microsoft Office 365 tools. A lot of these tools can be used in a lot of excellent ways in lessons, specifically, Microsoft Forms, obviously using your Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft OneNote and creating a class notebook, those sorts of things. Also utilizing BCPS One learning management system tools. And I'll talk about this one later. This one we initially wanted to do. I think throughout the school year, it kind of took the back burner for a couple of different reasons, which I'll explain later. And then last, the huge one, we really wanted to transition from using our school shared drive to the OneDrive. Shared drive was just a giant online, or not really online, school drive that you can only access when you're connected to the school's network. And it actually had a huge crash a couple years ago. A lot of teachers lost a lot of information, so we're really trying to we were trying to get them to transition to using the OneDrive, so that way all of their content was always online and safe. Also, is a great way to have students submit their assignments in the online environment. And a great way to collaborate, and just a couple of those things. So those are really the things that I came up with, or we came up with, and I decided to go with for my internship, was those four main things. So that went right into my proposal. I sat down, wrote my proposal out, sat down with my principal again to kind of review things to make sure that we were on the same page. He was extremely enthusiastic, supportive. He was very happy that I was there and ready to, help out for the school year and really get everything moving with our staff. And we just sat down. I kind of outlined a timeline and a plan for when some of these tech tools would be rolling out, and just described the process that was going to be going forward. And we also sat down and set the first professional development date, which was really right off the bat the first faculty meeting of the school year, which I'm explaining now. Right before I do that, actually, the planning that went into it, Joellen and I, my staff teacher, we really wanted to, I guess, discuss how we were going to assess, our staff throughout the year. And I thought it'd be a really good idea to use one of these Microsoft Office 365 tools to kind of kill two birds with one stone. Not only were we going to teach teachers how to use this tool, but we're also going to use that tool in order to track our process and our data throughout the year. So I thought that would be, a really good idea, and also a simple way to track progress of the data collection. We also decided we should provide instruction throughout the year on Tech Tuesdays. This was actually Jo Allen's idea. She thought it'd be a great idea every Tuesday to have a mini meeting, whether it was during lunchtime, before school, after school, or in the online environment, which is what I did for a lot of our meetings, just to kind of have herself or me or one of our other teachers that's knowledgeable in the school lead a meeting that teaches a certain tech tool. So that way, teachers can kind of come and go as they please and get little bits of information throughout the school year, and hopefully start to implement some of these tech tools that can be excellent use with students, creating boosting engagement, tracking data, and everything, all of the above. And also, we kind of try to figure out, to a tentative plan, what should we do online, should it be face to face? And we kind of decided that each month we would figure out, who would be leading, what meeting per week, and also if it was going to be face to face or online. And that really took us right into the first school-wide professional development that I led. This school-wide professional development, I was a little bit nervous going in because I didn't really know any of the staff other than, a couple of the administrators, but overall it went really, really well. Right here is a picture of one of the pages from our class notebook. And as you can see, I'm actually going to open up this link right here so we can see what it looks like. But this class notebook, Jo Ellen and I created in order to track our school's progress. So if you see, you can go to any department and identify yourself. So I'm going to go to phys ed department, and as you can see, here are the physical education teachers in the school, and then I click on myself. During this first professional development, I led the staff in accessing their own page of the school notebook. So this right here is my page of the school notebook. And what I did was I led everybody, first of all, how to access OneNote in their Microsoft Office 365 tools, which is an excellent tool that I know a lot of teachers use and also express interest in using. So that was a great opportunity to kind of show them how to get there and what Microsoft OneNote does and what are some of the features are, this being one of the best features. And once they got to this page, their own page in their school notebook, they were able to fill out this survey that really had them identify what level they would consider themselves on for each tech tool. So this way we could really get a pre-assessment of their knowledge. How well do they know something like course maps? How well do they know repository? How well do they know Nearpod? Some of these extra tech tools. We kept some of the main tech tools at the top here, called like the Group A. These are the ones that we know a lot of teachers should be using because a lot of these tools are in the BCPS1 online database. And then we kind of the Group B tools are for some of the, I guess we would call the extras. A lot of these are excellent tools as well, but some of these tools we taught a little bit later in the year. But again, it gave teachers a way to kind of rate themselves and see how familiar they were with some of these tools. And then throughout the school year, every time we were to teach during a Tech Tuesday or provide any kind of professional development, teachers would go back in and they would update, their rating. So if they learned about Nearpod one Tuesday and they didn't know about it at all, they were at a level 1, they could go back and mark themselves at a level 3 or a level 4. So throughout the school year, they were able to kind of update their own profile and their own notebook, reflecting on their knowledge on various tech tools. So after, leading the first professional development, I met my stat teacher, and we kind of looked over all the data that we collected for the school's OneNote notebook. And this really kind of allowed us to create our Tech Tuesday schedule, just to kind of put together a tentative schedule of what tech tools, we should be teaching earlier in the year as opposed to some of the ones that we should be teaching later in the year. And we kind of went off this on some of the tech tools, especially in that Group A category, that we had the most people register at level 1s for. We thought that we should probably teach those first because it seems like, those were the tools that people were not very familiar with, and they were the ones that we deemed that were the most important to learn. So we put those ones at the beginning, and then some of the ones that people were a little more familiar with, maybe they scored a level 3 or a level 4, only a few level 1s or 2s. We set those up, for later on in the winter. And then same thing we did with the Group B tools. Most of the Group B tech tools we, figured we would start in the winter time or early spring. So the ones that people scored, level 1s, level 2s, we would address first, and then the, same thing for the Group A tools. If you were a level 4, level 5, we figured those tech tools, I guess people knew a lot better, so we set to teach those a lot later in the school year. So for the second school-wide professional development, here's where I was with the entire staff, and I shared the data that I collected, and really kind of shared the number of teachers that fell into each category for each tech tool, and I kind of explained what Tech Tuesdays were. I made sure that they knew that they can meet myself or Joe Ellen before or after school on a Tuesday, sometimes during a lunch shift, and we would always let teachers know at the beginning of the week, who would be leading the instruction for that tech tool for the week, and where we would be meeting, whether it be online, before or after school, or during lunch for that Tuesday that week. And one of the best parts about the data collection that I gathered from the school-wide notebook was that one of the questions on there after they kind of ranked themselves by level, if they scored a level 4 or a level 5 for a tech tool, that means that they were very comfortable with it, and there was an option for them to write their name down if they'd be willing to teach that tech tool to some of their colleagues. So what I did was, when I compiled that data, I identified who those teachers were, and then I immediately sent out emails, confirming if they'd be comfortable teaching a tech tool. So this also took some of the, work off of myself and Joe Ellen, so that way we weren't the ones that were having to teach every single Tuesday, these for the tech tools. If we knew that there was a certain teacher that uses, for example, VoiceThread every single day, they're going to be very knowledgeable, and they could lead that Tech Tuesday meeting of that week if they wanted to. So this was a great way for me just to share out the data with the staff and kind of show what we were going to do going forward. And that led right into our breakout groups. So for the second school-wide PD, after I shared the data, we immediately went out into breakout groups. And I had certain teachers that had told me they were comfortable teaching tech tools. So I had them leading, that certain group. Each breakout group / meeting was only 15 minutes long. And then we had one other one, so teachers could get up, they could rotate to another tool they wanted to learn about, and then sit for another 15-minute session. I was in charge of the Microsoft OneDrive instruction, and this was, I guess, my first, deer in the headlights moment. There was a bit of an issue with this breakout session. During the very first breakout session when I was teaching OneDrive, I quickly realized that for some reason nobody could access the Microsoft Office 365 tools on their computers. And of course, at least 2 or 3 of our breakout sessions were on these tools, including mine. So this immediately caused issues. I thought on my toes. We went around to try and figure out a couple different things. We realized that if you used Internet Explorer to access Microsoft tools, then it did work. So I ended up about 5 minutes into the meeting, standing on a table in the middle of everybody, shouting, for those of you learning Microsoft Office tools, please use Internet Explorer. And this did end up working pretty well. I think there was only a couple teachers that were still not able to access this. I was able to go back to my group and kind of speed up my presentation and kind of walk them through the tools. I also created a tutorial video that went along with it, so I sent that out as well, especially for the teachers that got the shortened time because of the technology issues in my group. But the second time, for the second breakout group sessions, the next 15 minutes, it went really, really well. A lot of the teachers were very thankful and gave me a lot of great feedback when I was doing this. So this kind of goes in to my Tech Tuesday meetings that were in the online environment. Pictured here are 2 videos that I created. Actually, the one here on the left, which is called the Grab My Finger Professional Development. That was a very interesting thing because during my first online Tech Tuesday meeting, I had about 6 or 7 people, meet me online, and one of their biggest things was they didn't really have questions about certain tech tools, but they were very frustrated about student engagement and how to engage their students better. They were losing focus and that sort of thing. So I had already created this video in a previous class here at Loyola, and I said, guys, why don't you try this one out? And I shared this out with the staff, and I think out of everything that I did in my internship, this one might have gotten the best reception. And it was something like I just pulled out of my back pocket, and it was a great brain break for teachers to use with their students. Just to kind of give them a break, have a little bit of fun, have a few laughs. And really all the teachers that I shared this with were extremely happy. A lot of people used it, I know, and they're very, very glad that I shared it out. So it was interesting how that first Tech Tuesday meeting online switched, and I ended up using a resource that I already had. It goes into one of the second or third online meeting that I had. We were talking about assessment, and a lot of teachers were very, frustrated or confused that they really couldn't use Google for things. But quite a few of them didn't realize that a lot of these Microsoft tools are very parallel tools to Google. So I, showed them how to use Microsoft Forms, which is just an alternative to Google Forms. And I also shared it out with the staff. And Microsoft Forms is actually, as we'll see later on in the presentation, one of the tools that really showed a lot of improvement throughout the year from people going from level 1 and level 2 up to level 3, 4, or 5. 2 more examples of some Tech Tuesday meetings that I had in the online environment. The VoiceThread meeting, as you can see, I'm not sure why when I made the tutorial that the homepage has Mrs. McGinn, one of our Loyola instructors, but that's just, I guess, whatever happened. But this is a tutorial that I created on VoiceThread. A lot of teachers were voicing concerns or interest in ways to have their students collaborate with one another, but also a way for them to collaborate, especially kind of, for homework and that sort of setting sometimes. So I decided to introduce them to VoiceThread. I moved this up a week. I was supposed to teach it the week after, but they were really had a lot of interest in this. So I brought it up. I made a tutorial video for them. I sent it out, got a lot of good feedback. And the other one over here is for our Fitnessgram. And this is awesome because I got to work really just with just my department on the Fitnessgram tool, which is a tool that is just for physical education and health education and helps track our fitness data scores and that sort of thing. This is a brand new system that they rolled out this year. So my department, being very old school, they had no idea how to use it. So this is a great opportunity to kind of use my skills. And so I sat down with them and went through some of it with them, but also there was quite a few that were missing because of coaching sports and that sort of thing. So I made a tutorial video for them that anybody could access at any time. Just to kind of wrap up everything, during my final school-wide professional development, this occurred in May, so this was after we had been doing our Tech Tuesday meetings, pretty much every single week throughout the year. This is after we had a few of our professional developments, like I explained before, breakout sessions, that sort of thing, a lot of online videos and tutorials that I sent out, and it was really cool to see the progress that the staff had made, specifically for these Group A tools, Microsoft Online Basics, a lot of those things like Microsoft Forms and Microsoft OneDrive. That was one of my big things in the proposal to transition to using that. As you could see, they climbed a good amount. There was a lot of people that fell into that level 2 category in the very beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, as you can see, there's so many more people that are in level 3, 4, and 5 categories. So it was a lot of people that really made a lot of progress with that tool. Also, tests and quizzes was another huge one. A couple of these, like repository, ODL, wiki, a lot of those didn't have as big of improvements, I think, because they kind of took the back burner because some of those systems are actually not even going to be used next year, we found out, because they are using a new software that goes with our BCPS1 database. So, like I said, a lot of those tools kind of really took the back burner just because they're not going to be used next year. That goes to the other, comparison for pre and post with our Group B tools. As you see, there's a very large improvement with Microsoft Forms, which I was very happy about because that was one of the online PDs that I gave. Same thing with Socrative. That was another online PD that I went over, and Office Mix. So it's just really cool to see the progress that our teachers made throughout the year with, a few of these, with a ton of people falling in at level 1. I've never used this tool before at all, to then going into our level 2, 3, 4, 5 categories of using it or knowing how to use it, but also using it pretty much every single day in their classes. So just kind of reflecting on my overall internship, I had an excellent time doing this. It was a great way for me to meet my staff coming into a brand new school, not knowing anybody at all. Within the first month after giving those first 2 school-wide PDs, I felt like I knew more people in the school than some of my other department members that had been there for years. So it was a great way to meet everybody. The technology initiatives, they were always changing, like I had said in that previous slide, and that did cause us to kind of have to do a little bit of a shift with our instruction throughout the school year with our Tech Tuesdays. One idea that I had was I think that if administration showcased teachers that use these tech tools all the time, it would create incentives, I think, for other teachers to learn these tools and use them in their own classrooms. But we didn't get a whole lot of support with that this year. So that's one thing that I would really love next year, is if the administration, really kind of showcased it more, talked about it more, because then I think they would give a lot more teachers motivation to use these tools in their daily lessons, because it's really coming down the pipe. It's going to be hard to not use some of these tools next year when every single student has their own device. So it's here, and as teachers, we got to find out ways, to get our kids, using these devices in a way that's going to help them be successful. And I think that our teachers have a lot of ways, or a lot of different outlets to learn ways to do that this year. And I was very happy to be a part of that. I learned a ton. I really found out that I do like working with adults, totally different breed than students, but I enjoyed working with them. I thank, all the staff members that helped me out, my principal, specifically Joe Ellen, Odell, our staff teacher. She was amazing working with me this year. And I thank all my Loyola classmates for supporting me and helping me throughout this process too, with the portfolio and everything. And a huge shout out to Kelly Keene, my advisor. You've been a phenomenal teacher throughout your time here at Loyola with me, and I wouldn't be the online teacher student that I am today without you. So thank you. And I had an amazing time with this internship.